What's up, Badger fans? Let's talk more spring practice. We got a returning guest we haven't had on in a while. I'm excited about it. Let's filter out some of the noise. Does the pass rush looking better mean the tackles are struggling? Thoughts on the latest portal edition, quarterback battle? Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always, as we continue to build this incredible community. It's only incredible because people like you take the time out to listen to it, comment on it, think about it, talk about it. And today's guest is very similar in that vein. That makes the show better, as always. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I have to admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go. The mobile twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends, download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, let's get Coach's Corner back. It has been a while since we did a Coach's Corner, but that's what happens when football goes away and we're left with only the remains of a basketball program at this point. So
yeah.
It is good to have Coach Anderson back. His season has started, and it's always good to get his perspective. I want to start here. I did a show on this, and I saw your portal show too, where you're talking about some needs. I really like Nelson, the portal tackle they brought in from Vanderbilt. To me, he feels like a swing tackle. He feels like a guy who instantly helps depth. It feels like the super solid portal addition that doesn't get a lot of hype, but fits a really big need. What were your thoughts on Nelson? If you got to see him play, how he fits, what it means for the unit?
Yeah, I mean, that was my number one thing that I was looking for in the portal so far. And it's not the sexy thing to be thinking of a backup tackle, but it's what we need because we have that solid first group. I think we're pretty set on the interior between Renfro, Huber, Benchwall, and Brunner. I think we're solid inside. But at tackle, we have Nelson and Mullman, and then a freshman.
Yeah.
A very talented freshman, but a freshman nonetheless. And then all the talk has been of how the depth is young and thin after that. So Leyton Nelson definitely fills a need for that swing tackle. He has experience playing both on the right and the left. He probably projects as a right tackle going forward, but he fills a depth need and he fills a bridge need that is going to allow the young tackles to develop going forward. Now that it seems like maybe Haywood is the heir apparent at left tackle, I had kind of thought he'd be a right tackle because of how devastating he was as a right tackle in high school. Looks like they want to develop him into a left tackle. So Leyton Nelson slots in next year as a right guard with 2 more years of eligibility after this one. So it's a nice bridge piece. And he has the build that he could play anywhere on the line. I mean, he could play both guard spots. He could play tackle with his ability. And he's a solid player. His offer list was impressive. Played at a high level in Florida. Brian Smith's all about the Florida guys, and it extends to the offensive line as well. And his relationship with Coach Blazek is perfect and that's a little thing that people won't maybe pick up on. He's going to be a great source of information for the guys on the roster. Like, hey, when coach says this, what does he mean? Hey, can you give me some pointers? Can you let me know, stuff like that. He's going to be that guy that some of especially the younger guys are going to go to help kind of bridge relationship with Coach Blazek. So I think it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I approach that in a different direction, which I think the point you brought up is really good. It also, I think, gives Blazek just some instant credibility, right? Like, hey, this is a guy who we hired, and one of these highly touted off immediately, kind of not immediately, but followed him. I think there's some instant credibility boost there. Like, okay, this guy might be a dude. The thing I looked at with this was, I mean, you coach. I've coached basketball enough, but to this point, it's the same. You don't want knuckleheads in your room. Like you don't want to deal with kids who aren't going to work hard, aren't going to practice, have bad habits. Like this kid checks all those boxes. Otherwise, Blazek's not going to say, go get him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be a perfect fit for the room because he spent 2 years in the room already. And that is really important And that's gonna be important for Coach Blazek too, because he's the type of kid who he's gonna be able to look at in the meeting and see, all right, am I on the right direction? He's gonna be that kind of conduit. So, and he feels a need. He feels a definite need. So regardless of the personal connections, football wise, he is filling a hole in the roster that we had. Talent wise, we'll see. But I mean, the stars are one thing, the offers are another. If you put on his high school film, he was a mauler, and he has a Wisconsin mentality just from the little bit you've seen on film from high school. So I think it's a great pickup, especially at this time of year.
I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. I before this pickup, I had thought offensive line depth was probably one of my biggest concerns, and probably the spot, the unit that lacked the most depth. Not the worst unit necessarily, but the one that lacked the most depth. Does it still feel like that to you, or is there another spot where you feel like, okay, that unit now is the weakest just from a depth standpoint?
Depth standpoint, I'd still say offensive line. I think they could use one more, just to kind of bring a little bit more balance. And again, you're looking for that guy with 2 or 3 years of eligibility, a guy who could play multiple positions. I know Okla has been.
Yep.
He had a visit. I know he's and apparently the visit went very well. He's another type of guy, in-state guy, who was not recruited by the previous staff, by the way. Would be another type of guy. I think the depth interior line is okay. So a guy, a left guard, right tackle kind of guy would be great to have just have a little bit more experience depth. They got talent depth for sure. And we got all the young guys coming in the fall that again are going to provide more depth. One more would be nice, especially because right now I don't have a gauge on where they're going with the defensive line. That would be the next group that I would say, yeah, they need another body, but I'm not necessarily sure what that body is. I have my theories of what it should be, but when you look at the offers that they've been making, that's not the direction they're going, which is going to disappoint people who are just tagging every single D-line transfer on the portal. Oh, he's going to come to Wisconsin. No, he's 6'2", 245-pound defensive end. No, that's not what we're looking for.
That's not the fit. To your point, you did. That's not you. Still have to find fits. You can't just get a defensive lineman and say, "I break it down."
And I think, I think they're going to go. They're going with the three. They're going with the 3-4 type personnel on D line. They're space holders, double team takers, and they're going to let the linebackers do the work. A guy like Willer is the exception, which is why I'd like another guy like Willer, that longer body who is more of a defensive end than a tackle, a guy who could kick inside on passing downs. Another guy like that would be nice, but they have a lot of bodies on the D-line already, and that's another thing we have to remember. Right now, we're over the scholarship limit.
Yep.
Assuming we are. Now, again, with NIL and stuff like that, who knows how many of these transfers are actually on scholarship? Who knows how many of the returning players are actually on scholarship? But we can't just take every piece. So it's got to fill an immediate need. And that's the thing they can look for. I think offensive line was that need right now.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I agree. I just think sometimes we get, and I do this, I'm not immune to this, we get so caught up in the flashiness of portal guys at certain spots, like Nick Evers and CJ Williams, Bryson Green, and Lester Darian Varner, right? And they're the flashy ones. This is such a solid pickup. He's like a Will Pauling type that is just going to fit really well because the coaches know him. He fits the scheme, and he's going to provide depth and experience. I think it's a really good pickup. We're going to take a quick break, come back, play a little game of I'm the fan, he's the coach. We're going to put something out there and see if we do agree or disagree on it. Plus, get Ryan's takes from spring practice. What stuck out to him? We're coming up next with that on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for friends of the show over at FanDuel. Say goodbye to all the pain from the other sports books, all the pain from not being able to figure out how to log in and pay out and get your winnings and deal with parlays and blah, blah, blah. Life is hard enough. Seriously, life is hard enough, right? FanDuel makes it easy, simple. parlays, futures, spreads, teasers. You want a little tip? Suns plus 3.5 tonight. Let's go. Let's eat. The Suns, I think, are going to have a bounce back game, but that's just me. And I lose a lot of money on my teams because I bet with my heart. So that is not gambling advice. I would not take it. Use FanDuel responsibly. It is fun, enjoyable. Do it responsibly, but it is a great way to spice up your sports weekends. Plus, right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines, whatever it is. If your first $5 bet wins, that's bonus bucks to use on whatever you want. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, Coach, let's keep going here. I want to play a little game of I'm the fan, you're the coach. Here's my first take, and I want to see if you agree or disagree from a coaching perspective. I think if Tyler Van Dyke wins this battle, that is the best possible scenario for the Wisconsin Badgers because I think it gets the highest upside arm on the field. I think it maintains the depth in the room, and I think you can pivot easier down the road from Van Dyke to Braedyn Locke than vice versa if it doesn't work out. Your thoughts?
100%. I think it's part of the myth of the quarterback competition that's been going on now. It has been, I would say it's Braedyn Locke's job to lose, but he needs to lose the job. For this team to be better, he needs to lose the job. Van Dyke fits what we need for a quarterback in this offense right now. He's got the downfield art. He can make every throw. He's what this offense needs to get kickstarted. Braedyn Locke is a very serviceable QB. Is he a star in the making? No. Is he an NFL talent? Maybe. But I don't think he's ready to take the reins and be the full-time starter. Tyler Van Dyke, talent-wise, is. So he has to win the job because, like you said, his talent will make the offense better. I don't think Braedyn Locke's talents will make the offense better. I think he will be a facilitator. He'll be a game manager. Van Dyke, he's going to be big ups, big downs for sure. But I think we need that because I think we played it a little too safe last year. And I think we need a little bit of that, a little more gunslinger going forward. So I would definitely take that.
All right. I'm the fan. He's the coach. Tyler Van Dyke starts. I think the stats for Pauling and Trech aren't going to be quite as good as if Braedyn Locke starts. I think you're going to get more plays on the outside, CJ, Bryson Green. But I actually think you could see some issues with those short intermediate throws to those timing routes that Pauling and Trech are going to feast on. With Van Dyke, not as much with Locke.
I think that Pauling's numbers are going to go down, and not because of anything of anybody covering him differently. I think the ball is going to be spread around better this year. I think there's going to be more receivers involved. I think just the fact that Trech and Pauling are going to be on the field at the same time, the stats are going to even out, which is what you want. Having guys like that running underneath of the vertical shot routes, I think their catches are going to go down, but I wouldn't be surprised if their yards go up and the yards after the catch go up because you're going to, a lot of the staple concepts of the air raid that every air raid team should run, we were never really good at last year. The mesh, the deep crossing routes, we hit a couple of them, but we need, now that we're starting to develop better speed on the outside and more trust in the outside receivers, that's going to open up everything underneath. And that's going to help whoever the quarterback is. It's going to help his completion percentage. It's going to help everything that way. And so is Pauling going to get 74 catches this year? No. But I bet you he gets 60 and his yards per catch goes up 4 or 5 yards. And Trech gets a big chunk of yards. And that's what I'm expecting.
I think I saw your cat just enter the frame.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
He's right here. Hi, buddy.
Weigh in on the Trech over under 40 catches. Where are you at on that one? That's one Justin and I have been going back and forth on. And we all, I need to put this out there because a narrative is forming that like I don't like Trech. I love Trech. I just again want to say that. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed. Is my point. Oh, that's tough. Because it's really going to depend on how much they're on the field at the same time.
because I don't see a scenario where you'd want to take Will Pauling off the field. And I think Trech is too talented to just get Skylar Bell's backup reps that he got last year. So they're going to be on the field together a lot more. And so I think Pauling is going to get the lion's share of the defense's attention. So Trech might sneak some extra catches here and there. I think Trech is going to get a lot of those catches that would have went to tight ends last year that the tight ends didn't really get last year. But so 40 catches, I think, might be a little high for a redshirt freshman. I think 30. I think 30 and 500 yards is possible. I think he's going to have great yardage numbers. I bet you he's going to be a touchdown vulture. And 30 catches doesn't sound like a lot. 40 catches doesn't even sound like a lot. But for the number 3 receiver that he'll probably be next year, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You're hoping to see one of those outside guys.
Nope, we're back. I lost you for a second.
Did you lose me?
Yep, but you're back.
Okay, we're back.
The last I got was you're hoping to see one of those outside guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting the outside guys to pick up some more catches this year. Obviously, it's going to be more balanced than I think we saw last year.
And that actually leads into my next question. And by the way, before, you haven't been on in a while, and we pick up new people, new subscribers. Coach Anderson is not in this country, so through the miracle of the internet, it's actually amazing how well this does work. We very rarely hit any snags. Please give us a really quick kind of 30-second synopsis. I really didn't introduce you because we were in a good rhythm originally on the show where every week you were on. But for people who don't know you and where they can find your work, I definitely want to put that out there. And I apologize for not leading with that.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm a fan just like everybody else. I just happen to I've been coaching football for the last 22 years, but I've been doing it in Europe. And it's because I discovered football kind of by accident. When I came over here, I played in high school like everybody, and I came over to Europe back in 2002, and I needed something to do. I found football, and I've kind of stuck with it ever since. And then since 2013, I've been running the air raid offense. So what I try to give is my amateur coaches perspective on especially the misconceptions of the air raid offense and modern offensive football, because no offense to the Badgers, over the last 15 years, the offense has not been modern as much as people say pro style. It's not. It's pro style from 1998. And so
it's got the Tech Mobile playbook.
It sure does. And it's so now that we're moving into this new era, I guess the same little things that bother me from the sportscasters are bother me from the fans. So I try to give that little bit of perspective that I do know some of the background of the offense and offensive football in general, because I've been doing it for so long, and try to give it to people in an easier to understand manner.
I love it, man. And you always make us smarter when you're here. I'm the fan. You're the coach. I hear Pius, Lowery, outside linebackers, all sorts of havoc, creating issues for the offensive linemen. I understand they're not in full pads. It's not like full practice at all times. A lot of people have kind of brushed this off, I feel like. Well, they're just the outside linebackers are really good. This actually worries me a little bit more than others. Because if the narrative was reversed, people would be talking about how great the offensive linemen look. You're going to play other really good athletes when you play Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, USC. You're going to play really fast edge rushers. Your thoughts? Does this worry you? And I'm not full panic on it, but I would like to hear that they're not blowing by the offensive tackles with the ease in which some reports indicate they are.
I don't think it's anything to worry about right now, because I think finally the defense has the horses that it wants, and they're able to scheme pressure finally. And that's a big step. Also, the offensive line has to catch up. because they are used to pass blocking the CJ Getzes and the TJ Bowlers of the world. And now they have actual pass rushers for the first time in a couple of years. It'll take a little bit of time, but they're in spider pads right now. The defense always has the advantage and stuff like that because the contact is down. I think they're huge improvements of where we were last year. And I also think that we're going to face, and we did face, better edge rushers at times last year. And okay, our tackles weren't great, but with a year of experience, they're going to be better. So also another thing too, a lot of Pius's pressures are coming against the second team defense because it sounds like he's getting more second team reps when they're not on the field at the same time. And we don't know who they're beating.
Fair.
Are they beating Nelson and Malman? Are they beating Haywood, who's snuck in and getting some first team reps? Don't know. I'm just excited to hear pressure because we didn't get any last year. And it's just the roster didn't have pressure defensive outside linebackers. For the defense that we've run at Wisconsin for 10 years, how we went into last season without guys on the roster already is actually kind of surprising. And it wouldn't have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. You weren't going to get pressure from Daryl Peterson and CJ Getz and TJ Bowlers and all those guys. It just wasn't going to happen. Now we have the athletes. This is the most athletic and talented linebacker core that we've had in years. Individually, maybe, you could point to other guys being better, but as a unit, I don't think we've had this much talent in the linebacker group ever. So that's only going to make the offense better as we go through the season.
Yeah, it's a really good point, right? Practicing against Lowery, Pius, Cheeks, Tack, Jaheim Thomas, right? Cheney is better this year. Like, he's physically gotten stronger, bigger, faster. Heiberger, Lafayette, like, that's going to make the offensive line better. And that's a very good point there. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. Then we're going to come back, kick over to Coach Anderson and just see what else has stuck out for him, get his perspective on things that he's found interesting, players or reports. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show. Over at Monopoly Go, I've talked about it. Monopoly Go is a new twist on just a classic board game that we all love. Who hasn't thrown those dice, landed on Boardwalk and said, let's go? Who hasn't thrown those dice, got the community check, and then ripped your hair out when you paid our community chest and ripped your hair out when you paid like the 15% tax, right? Monopoly is an incredible game. Now you can do it with mobile phones, dynamic boards, play with or against your friends, wreck their vaults. It is awesome. It's addictive. It's competitive. I'm climbing up my leaderboards because it's just an easy thing to do. Kill some time. Monopoly Go, incredibly fun, competitive, dynamic, the new twist on the classic and beloved board game. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Join over 150 million people who have downloaded the app. That's Monopoly Go, App Store, Google Play. Today's episode also brought to you by GameTime. GameTime is the #1 choice for all of your ticket needs. Any type of entertainment you want. Listen, you want to go to the circus? Go get you some circus tickets on GameTime. You want to gift tickets to somebody in the family, friends, or your favorite podcaster? I'm open to it. Go do that on GameTime as well. GameTime is the #1 source for all your tickets. A huge inventory, easy to buy, simple to use. Pictures of the seats before you sit down so you know exactly what your view of Jackson Churio is going to be, or whoever you're trying to see. You see the tickets, the seats before you sit down, before you buy. Great prices, last-minute flash sales. GameTime is the place to do that. Download the GameTime app today. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. That's GameTime. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off over at GameTime. Let's bring Coach back on. I want to kick this over to you, man, because, again, this show is better when it's collaborative. What has stuck out to you? What's been interesting to you seeing the reports come through?
We're basing everything on what all the media who gets to go to the practices say. So I don't know how much things have actually changed, but it really sounds like spring ball has gotten a lot more physical, because that's something Luke Fickell had said, that last year they weren't as physical as they needed to be. They weren't as physical in fall camp as they needed to be. Last year was a lot of teaching. So that's understandable. This year, okay, this is if we call last year 0, this is year 1 of the Luke Fickell era. And I think we're going to start getting more physicality at practice. Tackling is going to get better. toughness is going to get better. I think we're going to have less instances of guys like Hunter Wooler calling out his teammates for not caring. It's getting better that way. That's been really interesting to hear about that. And then, getting a little chippy at practice and stuff like that, especially the transfers kind of letting their presence be known. I like that because that's what you want from these guys coming in is like, yeah, I'm here and I was brought in to replace you. Deal with it and let's get in and get after it. I like hearing that. That's been a pleasant surprise. And then as now that we're starting to get to the tail end of spring ball, the quote unquote quarterback competition, I think is starting to even itself out where it's supposed to go. And the last couple practice reports you're hearing media people say, this was Tyler Van Dyke's best practice. He made this incredible throw, that incredible throw. He was good with his feet. The last 2 or 3 practices, you've been hearing that. And then usually the Braedyn Locke comment is, oh, he had a couple nice throws. And so that's good to hear because I think the fans need to hear that because I believe there was way too much hype over this quote unquote quarterback competition, especially in comparison to last year. I think last year's situation and this year's are totally different. At this time last year, Tanner Mordecai was the most experienced quarterback in the room. This year, Braedyn Locke is because he comes in with a year of experience in the system. Tyler Van Dyke has more football experience, but Braedyn Locke has more experience in the system. Now, Tyler Van Dyke's talent is starting to make itself known. And that is what we all hope for and expected. But in line with this narrative that there's an actual quarterback competition, there isn't. Like I said before, it's Braedyn Locke's job to lose. It's starting to filter itself out, which is good to see. And then the last thing that I can really think of, it's been nice to hear that they seem to be using a lot more different personnel groups. I think last year, 3 receivers and a tight end, 11 personnel. That's all they did. Now we're starting to hear, obviously, you got to get Trech on the field. And he's not taking Will Pauling off the field, so they're both going to get on the field more. We're hearing reports of the vaunted 2-back stuff that we had heard about last spring that I think happened for 2 plays during the actual season. And so we're getting some of that. There is so much more variety in this year's offense than there was last year. And there has been in a Wisconsin offense in a long time. Every running back is different. A lot of the receivers are different. The tight ends are different. That's a great thing for a coach. It can also be overwhelming because, I get so many ideas. I can use this guy. I can use that, this and that. It can get overwhelming, but it gives us options. Like last year, Hayden Rucci led the tight ends with 11 catches because we didn't have anything better. Now we can get better production out of the tight end group, but also we can replace that production with receivers and running backs, etc. So those are all positive things. I've heard a lot more positive things for me this spring than we did last year. You heard a lot of hype and then a lot of that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Oh, he's hurt. He's still hurt. Oh, this guy. Oh, Tanner Mordecai had another bad day, and Braedyn Locke was looking good, and then he had a horrible day. It's a lot more balanced, and that has been positive to see. And I think a year into the system, more people are comfortable. The coaches are comfortable with the players are comfortable with the coaches. It's moving everything in a more positive direction. I'm not going to make any bold predictions because last year soured us all on that stuff.
I still will. Don't worry.
I mean, someone's got to do it. I'm going to be more cautious, but we have the pieces that we can take a step forward this year. And again, it's year 1, both offensively and defensively. I think the defense is going to make a big jump. I think the offense is going to make a solid jump. I think the defense is going to make a big jump because it's just the way Luke Fickell is with how he builds his system. He came in last year with what he always did at Cincinnati. Now, this year, he wants to solve one of the major problems from last season. He took how he built his defense at Cincinnati was a step-by-step process. He came in with what he ran at Ohio State. Year 2, he solved one problem. It was Navy, the option stuff. Year 3, they solved the vertical passing game of Central Florida. Year 4, they stopped the RPO, and they just built through the system. We can already see.
Yeah.
They solved the year 1 problem, which was no athletic ability on defense. So they've solved that problem. And along with that is going to come tackling and fundamental growth. So it's going to be a solid year 1. And so far this spring, I'm positive.
You mean year 2, right? You keep saying year 1.
Oh, yes. Yeah. To me, last year was year 0.
Okay, gotcha.
This is the true year 1.
Yeah.
This is the true year 1. And it's every coach goes into their second year with a program. The first year, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do what everyone hired me to do. I'm gonna run the stuff that made you want to hire me. And then usually the first year with the team is like, okay, well, that stuff doesn't work because I don't have the guys that I had with that team. It's a new team. So I have to adapt my stuff to the team. And I think they've done that. And then what the great thing about the portal is you can get your roster closer to what you want to do faster. I think last year they tried to get the Wisconsin guys to buy in and be coached up. And this year it's like, no, we're going to fill the holes. And they've done that. So I think it's moving in the right direction.
At least one of the men's programs has done that.
Yeah.
No, it's great as always, Coach. Yeah, this is fantastic stuff. I know we're always smart because you're here. I really appreciate it. Go check out Coach's channel. Also his work on Badger Notes. Really, really good informative stuff as always. Coach, thank you so much for jumping on, man. Until next Coach's Corner. I appreciate your time.
Yep, sounds good.
On Wisconsin, and we'll talk later.